welcome back to the She Got Lucky podcast. This episode is another one where we are going to go straight into some deep conversations. I definitely considered whether I would share this now or perhaps hold off, but I honestly think that this is the best time to be sharing it because I made a post on Instagram. If you'd missed it or if you're listening a little bit later on, let me catch you up. So I have just sort of got back from 2 months off of posting. 3 months sort of stepped away from my business. I was still serving my clients, but 2 months with no posts. And for me, that is just absolutely unheard of. So I've just returned. I shared a post and I've had so many messages come through. And I really have, to the point that I thought, okay, we've got to have a deeper conversation on the podcast. I want to talk about this. I want to bring in the questions you've brought. I had a few DMs from people who said that they didn't really want to comment on the post. It feels quite vulnerable where they are right now. And so I thought, look, this is such an important conversation. So not only am I having this conversation on the podcast today, but I'm also hosting a free event. This is a free live call, no replays, no recordings. It's the Rediscover Your Heart call. And for anyone who feels any of this at the moment, we're going to be talking about this. It's not about strategies. It's just about how you can come back to yourself, how you can rediscover the fun in business, rediscover your heart. So I'm going to start off with one of the DMs that I received. And before I do, I probably should just preface this episode by saying this episode is not going to be perfect. I've made some dot points so that I hopefully don't go on too many different tangents. But I wanted this to be almost like a conversation with you. I wanted this to be like you and I were sort of catching up for coffee and you had asked about this experience and perhaps you have some questions of your own. So I've actually had in these DMs, in these conversations that I've been having, I've picked out some of the questions so that way I can bring them up in this episode with you as well. Okay, so let's start with this, one of the first DMs that I had. Hey, Alicia, I've honestly rewritten this message 3 times because I don't really know how to explain what I'm feeling. But your recent post gave me full body chills and I just needed to reach out. I wouldn't say I'm burnt out, but it still feels quite similar to it. I'm still working, still showing up, still getting okay results, but I feel like I've hit this weird dip in my business. A year ago, I was making 20K months pretty consistently. I was launching, I had momentum, I felt confident in my voice, but over time, I did follow more and more people. I did join different programs, I picked up new strategies, and slowly, without realizing, I just don't really feel like me anymore. Now, even when I'm posting, I'm questioning everything. I feel like I'm stuck between versions of myself, trying to lead like everyone else, trying to be an authority, and I completely feel disconnected from why I started this business in the first place. I don't feel like I failed, but I don't really feel like me anymore, and I don't feel like a leader anymore, and I miss that feeling. I'd love to know how you started to reconnect with your own voice again, especially when you were still performing as the authority and getting results on paper, but feeling completely misaligned underneath it all. Okay, so let me take you back. I think that this has been really bubbling underneath the surface for a while. And little by little, it's almost like I muted parts of myself. I had reached some really great results in my business. I had gone from strength to strength, from level to the next level to next level to the next level. And I've always been such a goal-driven person. Okay, cool, let's celebrate, but what's the next thing? What's the next goal? What's next? And whilst that absolutely is a strength of mine, I had this quote in my mind I've spoken about it before. I'm sure I'll speak about it again. But what got you here won't get you there. And so in my mind, I really thought, okay, in order for me to get that next result, I'm going to have to change things. I'm going to have to do things differently. And it wasn't a case, I didn't think it was about changing myself. I just thought, okay, different strategies, different ways of doing things. I'm going to have to tweak things, tweak my content, tweak the things happening behind the scenes. So there was so many different things that I was tweaking. And I really didn't think that I was tweaking myself. But when you're changing so quickly and you're moving really quickly, don't get me wrong, I love moving fast. I love fast action takers. But naturally, you're going to fall down faster as well. And in this case, I fell down quite quickly a hole that I didn't know where the stairs were. I didn't know how to get out of. And so I guess quickly, slowly, depends what you call it. But I mean, over the span of just a few months, I really got to the point where I didn't feel like me. I am the type of person who working on my business feels so much fun. And people who have this conversation about, like, don't glorify working, don't glorify hustling. I had always said, I enjoy working so much. I enjoy it. I have always been a hard worker. I had 3 jobs when I was 15, 4 jobs, I think, over the summer. I loved working. I loved serving. I loved helping. And so to me, I didn't want to glorify this is what you have to do. You have to hustle. You have to do this. But I also wanted to always celebrate, whether myself or whether my clients or whether people in my community, if you're the type of person who loves to actually work, loves to help, I'm not going to be someone who's like, oh, you're working, you're like, there's a balance. It's different for everyone. And so for myself, whilst in the past, yes, I've been burnt out, I've learned a lot. I started full and filled because I'd been burnt out so many times. And it had been so long, I think it'd been maybe 2 years since I'd really experienced burnout, that I didn't realize I was experiencing it in a very different way. And it wasn't from working too many hours. I look back on it now and getting to this place that I felt like I was in this really deep hole. And the only way to not get deeper into it was doing the thing and still showing up and still doing it. And hopefully I'll get my way out of the hole eventually. Hopefully things will start to shift. Hopefully I'll start to feel better. But I realize now, looking back, it was, I guess, a form of creative burnout. But even more, if I go deeper than that, it was almost like an identity burnout in a sense. It came from trying to be something, trying to be someone I wasn't. It came from performing rather than doing things because it felt so good. And I guess it's a little bit hard to admit that, because one of the most important things in starting my business is I never wanted to be fake. I always wanted to be really true to myself. I wanted to be open. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be someone that my clients knew I was there for them, knew that I always had their best interests at heart. And so I guess to sort of say, like, I was showing up as someone who I wasn't, that kind of goes against what I wanted to be doing. But I was so focused on trying to be that next level version. And so I want you to ask yourself right now, it's natural to want that next level. And I think there's 2 sides to this. You need to be really determined for that next level, obviously, in order to get there. But in the same sense, I think there's a difference between determined and desperate. You want that next level. You want it badly. But is it coming from a place of, I feel magnetic, this is mine, I'm ready for it. And it's easy to say I'm ready for it, but like really feel into the energy, right? Like it's coming from me no matter what. Like I'm already there. Here we go. There's a very difference between determined and then desperate. I will do whatever I freaking have to do to get there. And you might be listening, you might be thinking they sound very similar, but determined to get to that next level and desperate to get to that next level. I really feel like it kind of comes down to that abundance, like whether you're coming from a place of abundance or whether you're coming from that place of scarcity. And I think that I just consistently been going next step, next step. How freaking cool is this? How freaking cool is this? Ticking off another thing off my vision board, traveling the world, speaking overseas on stages, like another thing, incredible. Working with Meta, incredible. Next thing, next thing, next thing. And I was so desperate to keep that going. Maybe that's because what if it stops? What if you don't hit that next level? What if it isn't that natural progression? What if you go down? What if you have a dip? What if you slow down? What if you lose some of that momentum? What does that say about you? And I think that if I had have taken a moment to really just stop, maybe have this conversation with myself sooner, I think the last few months would have looked very, very differently. And that's why I just sort of want to really bring your attention to this. Don't get me wrong, these past few months have been hard, but I have walked away with so much understanding, so much sort of wisdom around this, and a far, far stronger level of discernment than I ever had before. So some big things, just sort of recapping there, okay? Take a moment, ask yourself, you want that next level. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast. You wouldn't be in my world if you're like, I'm happy where I am and I'm happy never changing things and going to the next step and bringing out the better version of myself. There's nothing wrong about that. But that next level that you want, that you're craving, do you want it? Are you determined for it? Or are you desperate for it? If it doesn't happen, would you be okay? Would you be fine? Would you have so much trust and faith that, it'll happen? It's not happening right now because it's not. Like, it will. I know it will. Or would you make that mean something about you? So there was definitely that element there. The other part of this was allowing so much noise to come in. Everyone has a strategy. Everyone has a framework. Everyone has step by step, this is what you need to do. One thing I really, really want to share with you that allowed me to see the entire industry of the coaching world very, very differently. The way people show up, the messaging that they have, the angle that they have. It's not about being sleazy. It's not about them being dodgy, I hope. I can't speak for everyone, but the people in my world, it's not about them being dodgy, okay? But in order for them to be marketing their services and their offers, they need to truly believe that this is the way to do it. Their way is the way to do it. So, of course, you're going to have a coach that teaches you about ads, how to use ads to sign on 100 clients per month to your program and make evergreen sales. Of course, that coach is going to be saying, you need ads to hit this result. You need ads to make this much money. You need ads to get to this level. Whereas a coach who has maybe a launch coach and they've made X amount of money, they've done X amount of months, they've done X amount of launches, they've seen X amount of success, and they've never ever run ads. They're going to be saying the opposite. They're going to be saying, you don't need ads. Both coaches, neither of them are wrong. Both of them have seen success because of what they believe in. One's going to teach you about ads, one's going to teach you about launching without ads. So of course it makes sense for them to be showing up and telling you through their content, you need ads, you don't need ads. And it's so easy. If you don't have that discernment, if you don't have that awareness when you are scrolling through Instagram and podcasts, Facebook, wherever you consume, it's so easy to get sort of like brainwashed in a sense. Oh, this person who I follow said that you should only be posting one story. So therefore, I'm only going to post one story now. Oh, this person I follow say that reels are dead. I'm not going to be posting reels anymore. You will constantly be jumping from platform to platform to platform, trying not to fall off, trying to keep up before the platforms disappear. If you aren't able to step back and say to yourself, okay, that's what they believe. That is what worked for them. And now it's such a case of really, there's some people that during that period, and if you're feeling a lot of what I'm saying, and you're sort of at maybe the earlier stages of realizing that this is where you're at, you do have this new evolved version of burnout. You're desperate to feel better. I know that feeling. And in that period, some of the things that I had to do straight away was, one, consume less. And it sounds so easy, but far out, I know it's not. Because it's a habit. Jumping on your phones, following certain people, engaging with certain people. Maybe it's your business friends. Maybe it's people you have connections with and you want to cheer them on. You want to see what they're doing. You want to keep engaged, keep connected with them. Right now, you need to prioritize yourself. And if there is anybody who is giving you too much noise, too many strategies, too much advice, anybody who is triggering you at this point, I want you to mute them. There's a point where I say, great, if someone triggers you, cool, let's look into that. But right now, where you're at and how you're feeling, this is not the time for you to be, oh, this person triggers me. What about them? What about what they've said has triggered me? I can work on this. This is an area to work on. Okay, that normally, yes. But when you are so run down energetically, when your mindset isn't in the strongest place, right now, we just need to look after you. We need to care for you, and we need to do what is going to currently protect you, your energy, your creativity, your passion, your joy. So muting people, they don't find out about it. And even if they did, this is about you right now. We need to prioritize you. The next thing, what in your business right now is literally sucking? I'm not saying like there's always going to be things that you prefer more or less in your business. And that's what we can look at another time. But right now, what do you need to pull back from? For me, it took about a month. I was like, okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to step back. It took a month before I realized the thing that I really needed to take a step back from was posting. That was so wild. I was like, no, posting, creating, like I love doing that. It's not that. It took me a month before I was like, you know what? Yeah, I know I'm resting, but it doesn't feel like good resting, you know? And again, my brain is sort of like, let's be productive. If we're going to rest, let's be good at resting, right? That's another conversation. That's other areas that we've been working on, okay? But it didn't truly feel like I was getting anywhere until I really pulled back from the thing that really needed me to just take a break from. That for you may not be posting. That may be something else. And then from there, it was really a case, there was quite a few different things. Firstly, I started working with a nervous system, breathwork, somatics coach. And that for me was really, really, really good. But for me, the other two things, I felt really creatively just drained. I was sleeping so much. When I really allowed myself to stop, when I really allowed myself that space, I just started sleeping for hours in the middle of the day. And I was just so confused. Why? Like, I got a good night's sleep. I got 9 hours sleep. I never get 9 hours sleep. Why am I sleeping in the day? I was so exhausted and so drained. So what I did was I found these little parts of myself where my creativity thrived, where perhaps that sort of inner child joy was hiding, and I reconnected and really spent time doing these things. Usually I would have said creating content, filming things. I've been filming things since I first held a camera. I've been filming things since, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. I've been filming, creating content, creating videos, editing them. But right now, that wasn't something that was naturally was gonna do. That was not gonna be an area that I would spend time on and rediscover the joy and fun and creativity. For me, I actually started painting. I started painting and I got lost in painting. I was trying out different styles of painting. And even at the beginning, I remember, oh my goodness, I had decided I was going to do textured painting. I'd seen them on TikTok and I was like, yes, this is going to be so good. I need some artwork for my apartment. And I used to love painting. I used to love art in school. It took me weeks to actually begin. And this came from a place of pressure. I was like, okay, I've got all these tools, I've got all these equipment, I've got all these art supplies. And some of them weren't cheap, but I was like, nah, we're really going to give this a go. We are going to. And so I think a part of me, I'd never liked wasting things. Naturally, growing up, we don't want to waste food. We don't want to waste power. If you're not in the room, turn the light off. I've always wanted to make sure I don't waste things. And if I do, I feel quite guilty about them. And so for weeks, I put off starting. And I had told people, not on Instagram, but I told my friends, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. They said, have you started painting? You said this a month ago. You got the supplies. You've got them all. There is literally no other supply that you need. You have got everything. What are you waiting for? And I was like, oh, but I just really don't want to put the paste in and put this in, and it's sort of like a recipe. I've got to make this, and I really hope it's the right sort of thickness and consistency. I don't want it to be bad. And like even realizing that I haven't started because I don't want it to be bad. I haven't started my hobby, this creative project that I've decided to do to rediscover the joy of creativity, to rediscover that inner sort of light inside of myself. I don't want to begin because I want it to be perfect. Oh, even realizing that, I was like, oh boy, this is not going to be like, I'm just taking 2 weeks off. Like, this is going to be a whole process. But anyway, we did lots of different art styles and artwork, and I'd be listening to music, I'd be listening to podcasts. They weren't podcasts that I love listening to podcasts just like this. I love listening into coaches and plugging in with mentors. I've got so many different resources and particular mentors who I plug in to audio trainings that they drop daily. I usually freaking love just plugging in and listening. But during this period, I was like, no, nothing about business right now. I just need to find that joy of creating again. And so I did that. And little bit by little bit, I definitely felt a shift. There was a few points where I really thought to myself, like, it's been enough time, Alicia. You need to get back to it. And I needed to check in with myself and realize, no, like, you're coming back because you feel like it's time. So coming back to these words, coming back to these things that I want you to ask yourself, do you want that next level out of desperation, or are you determined for it? Are you desperate for it? The other thing I want you to ask yourself is, right now in your business, where are you performing? Where are you showing up? What are you doing that doesn't truly feel like you? Because again, there's quotes, there's great phrases, great sayings, great advice that we hear. And if we aren't able to have this sort of level of discernment that we really require, we take it and we emulate whatever the advice is. We emulate whatever our coach is doing. We emulate whatever the person we're following, the person we look up to. We take on that advice like this is written in the stars. And so the phrase, the quote, the saying, whatever it is, but it's something sort of like about, if you want to be earning $1 million each year, if you want to be making 100K months, what would you be doing as that version of yourself? and start acting and start doing those things today. And again, I love this. It makes a lot of sense. What are you doing right now that you wouldn't be doing if you were in that place? It makes a lot of sense. And there's definitely some mindset power to this. But I think that looking back, perhaps this performing area that I see a lot of people doing, again, it's not because you're fake. It's not because, fake it to make it. But if you want to make it, fake it, whatever that is, right? I remember someone saying to me one time, don't fake it, just make it. And I think, again, this comes into this a lot. So this idea of fake it till you make it. It's not a case of you being a bad person. You know that. It's not about you being dodgy. It's not about you being fake. But along the way, especially if we are not super, super clear on what we want, who we want to be, we could be showing up as that person we think we want to be, showing up as that person who makes that amount of money, because that's what we're seeing. You're seeing someone in your world perhaps make an amount of money or do something that you want. Therefore, you're thinking, well, in order for me to get that, I have to show up as them. If I want to get their results, I need to show up as them. So, of course, bit by bit, it's going to start to feel like you're performing, because who's to say that you can't see the results they have by being you? Now, I could talk a lot on this, and I will. I'm sure we'll have more of these conversations over time. We'll have more of these conversations if you join me on the Rediscover Your Heart call. It'll be a bit different, but we'll have more discussions on this. But what I want to do is actually want to throw it back to you right now. And I've got different questions that you have asked me in the DMs, and I'm going to go through some of them now. I'm reading through some of them, and I do feel like I've sort of answered them already. If there is something that you're wondering, you want to know the answer to, come to the Rediscover Your Heart call. And if you're listening to this at a time where that call's passed, send me a DM, because I know how isolating this can feel. I know how scary this can feel. As someone who at one point was at the, peak of their career, achieving incredible things, had it all together, quotation marks, like all together, to now feel so lost, to feel so out of sorts, it can feel really scary. And I want to help you find your way back home. So, first question, how do you know the difference between needing a break and needing a full-on realignment? As I said, I took a break first. I didn't think it was a whole issue of I'm out of alignment, I've been performing, it's not been me. I just thought I needed a break. I wasn't excited to do the things. I woke up and sort of resented it. Nothing felt easy. I just needed a break. And I did that. And nothing felt different. Now, I know sometimes it can be the way you're actually resting. It can be you need a break, but you need a longer break. But I think if you really listen to your gut, if you listen to your heart, if you take some time to rest, and nothing really feels different. I think resting comes from you're tired, in the sense of, you have been working really long hours. You just need a little bit time to reset. Your battery is pretty drained out. And typical burnout, I think rest is going to be the best thing. But when you feel like you're in that hole, when you feel so deep, so lost, and you don't know how to get back to that place, that really, to me, is such a big indicator of that disconnection and really out of alignment. As I said, this episode's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to do it in the way that I'd hoped, but all I hope is that you listening to this episode, from these questions, from this conversation, it's opening something up or helping or supporting you in the way that you need it right now. And if it's someone else that you know of who really is going through the motions, perhaps you're seeing some of the signs, perhaps you're not sure how to support them, share this episode with them. Okay, as I said, I'm hosting this live event for free because it's just about pouring back into you. Because I've really discovered that there are mentors out there who can support you through this, but a lot of them are great at strategy. Not a lot can actually help you through, they'll talk about, I got this client to X amount of months. I got this client to 50K months. I got this client to 100K months. There's a lot of highs. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of money wins. But what about when things are tough? What about when things are happening externally to your business? What about when things are happening out of your control? Will your mentor, will your coach be able to support you through that? And I don't feel that a lot can. And so for me, it's just about being able to right now at least start the conversation, at least start to help you find your way back home. Okay, have you ever felt like you've built momentum in a direction that no longer feels like you? What did you do? Yeah, too many times. Too many times. And that's what I like to remind myself when I've sort of felt like I can't take a break, I'd be pausing all momentum. I remind myself, you have no problem creating momentum. You have no problem creating it. You can pivot and create momentum in a different direction easily. But it's going to take you longer to get that momentum going in a way that feels good, a direction that feels good, if you persist in this current direction. And in so many times, I've experienced that. And I think that's good because it's coming back to this maze analogy. Finding your zone of genius, finding what really lights you up. You are going to move through the maze and find dead ends, find things that are not the way, like, oh, I thought this was the way to go. It's a dead end. It didn't light me up. It wasn't actually what I wanted. I'm going to have to turn around and pivot and change a different way. The only way you're going to really find exactly what you want is trying things, is moving and learning. So many times it has happened, and it has really required a lot of courage for you to pivot. Okay, I've got Ross pivot in my mind, okay? Maybe that's what you need to hear. Maybe Ross yelling, pivot. This might just be your wake-up call. You will be okay. You will build momentum back. But your heart, your joy, the passion, it's going to feel really good when the momentum is building in a direction that is truly, truly what you desire. How do you reconnect with your voice when you've been shaped by so many programs and strategies that you don't even know what sounds like you anymore? Okay, this one's really, really good. And I think, again, this is where it sort of comes back to allowing yourself some space to have no noise. In order to hear your own voice again, you need to literally, you need to turn the volume down. You are not going to be able to hear your own thoughts, your own voice, if the noise externally is so loud. So you have to just turn it all down. And that's what really happened those first few weeks when I was taking a pause, when I wasn't posting. I wasn't really on socials at all because I wasn't posting. I really had taken such a big step back. And except for supporting my clients, the only real noises was myself that started to come back on. And that's really started to come out when I was doing painting or jigsaw puzzles, because it's that thing that you're sort of so focused on what you're doing that you lose track of time in a really beautiful way. You really reconnect. There's space for you to think. There's space for you to have thoughts and opinions. Because if you don't allow that, of course, everything you post is going to feel like someone else's. It's going to feel like someone else's voice, someone else's thoughts, someone else's opinions, because we've lost that connection to our own. So in order to reconnect with your own voice, it requires you to truly disconnect from everyone else. And the second part is then when you are in a place where you really do feel connected again back with your own voice, your own truth, not being afraid to share it. And that's why I'm doing this episode. That's why I'm having these conversations, because a few months ago, I would have said, wait a while. Wait a few more months until you share this. You've just come out the end of it. In order to be that authority, in order to be that leader, you need to really have really walked through it a bit more. I'm like, hang on a second, no. I'm coming from a place where I have value to share with you. I can help you. I realize now so many things. I've learned all these things, and a leader doesn't hold that back until they're ready or until it's going to be perfect. I want to be the sort of leader for you that shares the real, the raw. That's why I started this podcast, to allow myself to be vulnerable, because there is so much power in vulnerability. So that's really the second part of it, is once you have found your voice, your truth again, is asking yourself, what can I share that feels a bit scary? But what can I share? What truth can I share that I've been holding back? Okay, final question. What if my content still works, but I don't like who I've become in the process? And firstly, I want to appreciate the vulnerability in this question, because there's a lot here. I'm making sales, but I don't feel proud of my content anymore. It's polished, it's correct, and it just doesn't really feel like me. And again, this is the really hard part. This is where you can lead yourself, even though it feels scary, even though it feels like the wrong thing to do. Because doing the right things, you're checking all those boxes. So again, pivoting, changing, walking away, taking a turn, going in a different direction is going to feel so wrong. But I can absolutely promise you that if things are working on paper, working in the, working in the business, working in the bank account, working in the growth, working in the algorithm, but they aren't working for you deep down, they're not working, period. One of the times where I had to lead myself through this decision was financially. Everything was working so well. Everything was working so well. Business-wise, everything was working so well. Growth-wise, everything was working so well. Opportunities-wise, everything was working so well. Everything. But I felt so unhappy. And I remember during a launch, we were having so many people join, and on paper, literally on sticky notes, it looked so freaking good. Content was great. Engagement was awesome. The feedback was awesome. The new clients were awesome. We were helping clients. I was helping clients become 7 figures. I was helping clients literally do anything. I was helping clients get on TV shows. I was helping clients make their first 6-figure launch. I was doing so much for everyone else. I was doing so much for the money coming into my account. But deep down inside of me, I was so unhappy. And it felt so wrong to be making so much, doing so many great things. I started this to help people. I started this to help people make an impact. So why on earth am I, during a very successful launch, uncontrollably crying on the beach? Something had to change. And the moment I really it wasn't easy, because it took some time to really change everything, because there was a massive pivot, some massive changes, some massive sacrifices that needed to be made in order for this to change, to shift. But I just felt like the biggest weight had been taken off my shoulders. And any time now I think about, okay, this is working on paper, but I'm feeling that feeling again. It's not working for me. Full stop. If it's not working for me, it's not working for anything else. If it's not working for me, that's it. That's what I need. I need to change. Something needs to change. Something needs to be different. And so anytime I'm like, oh, but that feels scary, but that feels wrong, that feels, very ineffective. Like, that's not productive to be now going against what I've been doing. I come back to, but remember how good it's going to feel when you rediscover your path, when you redirect onto a way that's actually going to be, still going to be good for the business, it's still going to be good for financially, it's still going to be good, supporting clients. You can still have all that, but there's got to be a way that feels good to you as well. And you deserve to have that. You deserve to have that. So, this episode's been a lot. It's been a lot. But I really, really hope no matter where you are, no matter, whether you're on the end of it, whether you've experienced this, whether you've, maybe feeling a few things of this, it is so important that you ask yourself some of these questions, and I'll put them in the show notes below. Okay, if you haven't already, I'll also put the link below for our free live event for the call. There is going to be no replays, no recordings. I just want the people in there to feel completely safe, to feel held, and to really help them rediscover their heart. And so I'll put that in the link, but I really want to encourage you to just take some time today, right now. If you're in the car, turn off all audio after this. Obviously, cue up the next episode. But I want you to just take some time and really turn off the noise and allow yourself to have your own conversation with your mind. Allow yourself to ask these questions. We are rediscovering your heart. We are reigniting that fire, that passion, and we are rediscovering you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this episode. As always, it means so much. Please, if you can just take a moment to leave a review, it really does make a huge difference. I read every single one of them. They go into my Happy Sunshines and Rainbows album, and it also gives me a really clear indication of what sort of content and episodes and conversations to be having more of. So wherever you are, however you're feeling, I'm sending you so much love, and I will talk to you in the next episode.